What is up, guys? It is your girl Mindy, the Karmic DF from TikTok, and today we're going to talk about childhood trauma and how that manifests in your adult life and what you need to look out for so that you can realize the flawed reality that you've unfortunately developed so that we can actually work on our self-esteem, learn to love ourselves, and disconnect from the lack of love that we received as children. So if that's something that you relate to, if your parents were negligent, emotionally unavailable, never around, narcissistic, if any of those apply to you, then this is a video you should probably stick around for. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell to see more videos of mine. And as always, let's get into it. So unfortunately, science proves this as well. The first, I believe, 7 years of your life, your brain is in a theta state. So basically you're kind of in like a hypnotic state, which means that like you're taking in everything around you and that is creating your reality. So like we've all learned to do our shadow work and peel off all of the layers. Those formative years of your life set the standard for what you believe to be true for your reality. So if you had parents that were not around, if you had parents that were emotionally abusive, if you had parents that were just not great parents, then that is going to affect your self-esteem and it's going to heavily impact your relationships. You grow up with a parent that doesn't teach you that you should be loved unconditionally, that doesn't teach you that you're valued, that, oh, Spirit's giving me the whole kids should be seen, not heard, stuff like that. You learn then that you are not worth anything until you give to them, and then you end up what's known as parentification, where you become the parent to your parents because they're not emotionally evolved, and so you feel the need to step up and try to win their love or just try to figure out how to be a better version of yourself, but you're not quite figuring it out because you're not really sure where it's coming from. Well, it's because those formative years are so important. Realistically, and I know the climate in this world is very masculine, energetically dominated, but your parents are supposed to love you unconditionally. They're supposed to build you up, boost your ego, so that when you go out into the real world, you can have those boundaries. You can realize that there are toxic relationships that you shouldn't be getting into. But if you had parents that weren't there for you, then you are going to repeat that into your relationships and your self-esteem is going to suffer as well. Unfortunately, to be unbiased, usually your parents also have trauma as well because it trickles down. That's generational trauma. So if your mother's mother was emotionally unavailable, then your mom learned that and then she instilled that on you, and the cycle keeps continuing until someone notices that this isn't healthy and it has to change. And unfortunately, if you fell into the categories that I listed in the beginning, then you are the one that has to break that cycle for yourself by being the person that you needed from your parents. If you weren't constantly praised, then you will chase in other people validation. So relationships that are toxic, right? It's kind of a mirror image where you will pick somebody who's toxic because you are trying to prove to yourself subconsciously that you are in fact worthy of love because you didn't feel loved as a child. The way that society is, it's frowned upon and it's not good when you talk badly on your parents. You are supposed to appreciate and love them because they brought you into this world. But have you also heard things like, I brought you into this world, I can take you out of it, or you're 18 now, you're no longer my responsibility? Those are not emotionally available parents. They're not emotionally intelligent parents, and that's not how a healthy parent should treat you. So when you get out into the real world and you become an adult and you try to form relationships, you may lack self-esteem because it's your parents' obligation when they made you to help you understand that you are inherently worthy and that you are a good person and you are deserving of good things. But if your parents lacked in that department, then unfortunately, until you realize the pattern, you're doomed to repeat it. The only question that's left is, well, how do I start to love myself? How do I stop attracting people that mirror my parents so that I can have a healthy relationship with myself and a healthy relationship with those around me? And the first step is realizing that not all parents are great. There is a spectrum, you know, like your parent might have just been emotionally unavailable. That doesn't mean that they're inherently bad, but they did fail you. And you have to accept that so that you can begin to transmute that energy and realize that you had a disadvantage compared to people that had parents that poured into their kids. If you don't know what that feels like, then you automatically become the people pleaser, the one that's constantly giving and giving and giving without expectation of getting anything back, because you were not shown what healthy love looked like when you were in the most transformative years of your life. Your brain is not fully developed until around 25 years old. So if you think about if you had a parent that, was on drugs, or if you had a dad that was out of the picture when you were young, those things affect you and affect your self-worth. And in order to stop that cycle, you have to be your own parent. So despite what level on the spectrum your parents were, you have to first start by realizing that they let you down. Because think about, like you see on TV where a kid is like, Mom, look at this. I made this picture for you. And the proper response would be like, oh my God, baby, that's beautiful. But maybe you had a parent that was like, okay, whatever. You will constantly try and chase love because then you believe that you are broken, that you are not worthy of love. And that's where it starts. And until we realize that parents aren't just inherently great for making you, then we can begin to see the change that we need in order to be healthy versions of ourselves and stop the cycle, especially if you want kids yourself. So I want you to really sit down with yourself and think about what your childhood looked like. Did you have a parent that was gone? Usually it's the father, I hate to say it, but it is, that left when you were young, because then that ties to finding a spouse if you like men, or it could be gender reverse, whatever, but you will chase someone to help validate that you are inherently worthy. And we've gotten into a society where we all don't feel inherently worthy because a lot of us had emotionally unavailable parents who had emotionally unavailable parents who had emotionally unavailable parents. And until we get to a place where we go, hey, that wasn't right and I am inherently worthy, then we're always going to doubt ourselves. But society makes you believe that you should worship your parents for simply having you. And that's a debate that I'm really not going to try and get into. But what I want you to realize is maybe you were let down as a child, and that is why you're lacking the self-esteem and the boundaries that you need in your life. If you were constantly chasing the love of your parents, if you were constantly being there for your parents, if you were under 18 and they were telling you, stuff that was going on in their life as if you were a friend instead of a child, telling you things that you shouldn't know about, things like that, that impacts you more than you know. Then you have this piece of you inside that thinks, I am not worthy of love. I am not deserving of praise. I am only of value when I give to other people, when I exhaust myself for other people. And we constantly chase and chase until someone validates to us that we are worthy. But in the end, the only person who's going to drill it in your head that you are worthy is you. By reflecting on your past, by noticing that the things that you accepted was not acceptable, even if they do have good excuses, because honestly, we have trauma for generations. So there is a chance that your parents didn't know any better. But if they can't be reflective, if they can't apologize, if they continuously treat you like crap, or if they're just not in your life, or if they're still emotionally unavailable, or, their emotional intelligence is not there, then you will always be chasing for a parent figure, which will end up reflecting in your friendships and relationships. Honestly, to heal this, it takes time, it takes reflection. Sometimes it takes mourning to realize I was let down. My parents should have done better. And I didn't know any better because I was a child and that wasn't my fault. You have to have that conversation and that inner dialogue with yourself to realize that we are all inherently worthy. And unfortunately, we have a sick society, and it's up to us to make that change. So if you doubt yourself, if you end up in relationships where you are constantly giving and giving and giving, and you notice that they are not validating you, it is simply a reflection, unfortunately, of your parents. You attract what you know. And if you believe that you are inherently not worthy, then you are going to attract people that are going to hurt you and take advantage of you. And it's going to be something similar to what you experienced in childhood. So admitting to yourself that you were let down and that you deserved more will free you with time and with therapy, consistency, and knowing that that inner dialogue, that inner critic that has always been there is not your voice. It is the voice of the parents that have let you down, and then the friends that came after, and the relationships that came after, because we attract what we know. And if you don't want to attract what you know anymore, and if you don't want to feel like you're not worthy of love anymore, then you have to accept that they failed you in some extent. Whatever that extent may be, it still qualifies. It doesn't have to be full-blown narcissism. It could just be that they didn't have the capacity to be what you needed, but that doesn't make it okay, because you needed more and they let you down, and you probably didn't hear it. So here I am telling you, you deserved more than that. They should have apologized, and unfortunately, the cycle has to end with us. So consistent self-care, consistent changing the critic in your mind that says that you're not enough, that says that you're a burden, that says that you're only useful when you can give to someone. When you can consistently force yourself to turn that noise off and realize that you can stand proud in who you are, because the moment that you were put on this earth, you were a miracle, and remember that and drill that into your head, then the old noise of all the other people that didn't appreciate you begins to fall away. I hope that was helpful. I know that this is a touchy subject, which is why I'm trying to be very careful with my words here, but it feels like it's something that I really need to talk about, because it's so very common and people never actually put the dots together, because again, in society, we are trained to worship our parents for simply making us, and that's it. Like, they didn't have to do much more. Some people were blessed with parents that gave them unconditional love, and they did have an advantage over you. That doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they had an advantage over you, because they don't have that noise in the back of their head like you do, because you were let down. And the sooner you can realize that, the sooner you can set yourself free, demand equal give and take, respect and love yourself, be the parent that you need, be the spouse that you need, be the best friend that you need, and watch the energy change. Watch the inner critic start to die down. Watch how people will fall out of your life and healthier people will move into it. It is all energy. It is all what our brain knows and what we're willing to release so that we can truly be happy in our own lives. So I hope this was helpful. I know this was a little dark, but too many people have gone through this for me not to have to talk about it. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, and maybe I'll make a different type of video in regards to this if you need more elaboration. I'm trying to be very careful with my words here, but just remember that the moment you were born, you are worthy of everything this world has to offer. You are worthy of reciprocal love in relationships, friendships, family. You are inherently worthy, and don't let your brain or the people around you tell you otherwise. So I hope this video helped you guys. I will see you next week. I love you guys so much. And remember that you are the change you wish to see in the world. It all starts with you. I love you guys so much. Please take care of yourselves. Have a great day, guys. Bye.